started. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. And this is the first installment of the Fairbanks First Think Global Lecture Series entitled Business in Fairbanks, Competing Globally for the Interior. Everyone here knows what Fairbanks First is, but just to reiterate, it is a buy local program for the Fairbanks North Star Borough, advocating that households and consumers think about buying their products and services locally instead of going outside of the borough to buy them. And we advocate for a 10% shift in buying habits from outside the borough to back inside the borough. And the point of this lecture series in general, and this one in particular, is how local businesses can compete against e-commerce in the internet. And we identified 3 key areas where local businesses can excel and do better than their e-commerce counterparts. And these are avoidance of excessive leverage, creating a perceived prestige, and cultivating consumer champions. So the first one is excessive leverage. And in doing this paper, doing the research for the paper, the one commonality between industries studied and the industries were retail industry and manufacturing was there's a negative correlation between excessive leverage and your ultimate return on investment. A business that is chronically short on cash or extends credit for too long, or who is unable to collect receivables in a timely manner, is constantly undercapitalized, and therefore it can't survive if there's a shock to the market like this last recession was. Companies that were over-leveraged at the beginning of the last recession were not nimble enough to withstand the shock and the lessening ability to acquire credit. And then also going along with this, managers and owners have to be able to concentrate on their core competencies. So if you're a tea mixer or a baker or a mechanic, you have to be able to do the thing that you opened the business in the first place to be able to do. So it's important for you to then go outside and consult experts for you to run your business. And a lot of that is over-leveraged. A lot of people, when they start opening up their own business, they just borrow a lot of money because it's, back before the recession, it was cheap. Capital was really, really inexpensive to borrow, and banks were throwing money. Then when the credit crunch hit, when the recession came, people had this huge debt burden and were unable to pay it off, and weren't nimble enough to move, to acquire new products, to change location, to do whatever they had to do to compete, and they were forced to close down. The second one is perceived prestige. Perceived prestige, the definition is the weight given to products, services, brands, small businesses, and large corporations that allow them to fulfill a societal or cultural sense of belonging to a group, or as a way to establish personal self-worth. A business that is able to ingratiate itself into the social framework of a consumer set or provide perceived enhanced self-concept to individuals will be positioned to withstand outside competitive threats. So here's Coke's Facebook page. And just to give an example, Paul and Chris were going on this earlier, how much Coke is a part of someone's life. Coke has 36,223,132 Facebook fans, likes on Facebook. And it's not because they're the best brown, fizzy corn syrup soda. It's because they've managed over the years to have people identify themselves as being a Coke drinker. And so in comparison to their 36 million fans, Jesus has just a little over 3 million fans. The breast cancer awareness page has a little over 2 million fans, and the St. Jude's Children's Hospital only has 409,000 fans. So if a business can cultivate and maintain a perceived prestige, whether through identification with the buy local program, like you would, if you want to buy local, if that's something that makes you feel good about yourself and you identify yourself and your friends identify with being a group of people that buy locally, if you as a business can identify yourself with that, then people will go there because they like to feel good about themselves, and buying local makes them feel good about themselves. If you can do it through there, through your product assortment, unique offerings, or just the force of the business owner's personality, then you will have a competitive advantage over your counterparts. Because it's difficult to get that online. It's difficult for you to go to an online retailer that all they do is online retailing and have that same kind of perceived prestige. The next is the consumer champion. And this is a good illustration because this gentleman, as soon as he got out of the store, is immediately telling all of his friends about what he bought and what kind of experience he had when he was in the store. So in order for you to be competitive as a brick and mortar store, you have to appease people like this, because now more than ever, not are you telling 10 of your friends if you had a bad experience, you're telling your 400, 1,000 people that you know on your social networks. And then so to define what a consumer champion is, it's an advocate who not only is utterly loyal, but also enthusiastically promotes the company and its products to others. So it is extraordinarily important to cultivate these consumer champions and make sure that your relationship with these people is as strong as it possibly can be. And this is what the difference is, and it's not a semantic difference between satisfied and completely satisfied customers. Research shows that a completely satisfied customer is 42% more likely to be loyal than those who say they are merely satisfied. And it's because a lot of times people will say they're satisfied with something, but then that's only because they're shopping somewhere that's in a non-competitive environment. And once that environment becomes competitive, they'll go somewhere else. But people who say that they're extremely satisfied or completely satisfied will stay loyal to that business even if there is an increase in competition. So now we'll go to our panelists. Cassie, who you all probably know, works at the FEDC. She's a program manager for forestry, rural development, and Jenny, who is the owner of Sipping Strings Tea Company. She was born in Hong Kong and raised in Fairbanks. She traveling to different tea farms in China encouraged her to teach about tea in her local economy, and she now is the owner, of course, of Sipping Strings Tea. And she will be representing the business community in Fairbanks, and Cassie will be representing customers in Fairbanks. So the first question will go to Cassie. And this is to say, how has a business in Fairbanks, a local business, disappointed you in the past few months?
Sure. I have a couple examples of different times that I've made an effort to go out of my way, or just shopping or looking for something, and gone into a local business and maybe walked out successfully with my purchase, but been disappointed in the way I had to go about getting it. And I think first and foremost, one that comes to mind is I dislike when I specifically find a store employee or somebody who works at the store and I ask them a question because I'm looking for something specifically, and instead of being helpful or walking me to the item or directing me or offering a solution to the issue that I've explained to them, they kind of like wave their hand in a general direction. And I think a good instance was I was like looking for some table covering for like a potluck. And I wanted cheap table covering because it's just going to get thrown away. And you could buy, a roll for X amount of dollars, and when which I thought was really expensive. So when I asked the employee, was there anything cheaper, she said, yeah, you can buy them individually. Well, individually is far more expensive than a roll. And so I was really disappointed in the lack of effort and the response that I got. And it's frustrating. And so I left the store disappointed and I didn't buy anything. And then another example about shopping that frustrates me when it comes to purchases is when a store places something in front of you as a display, which is great because it draws you in and makes you want it, but then you have the next to impossible time actually locating it in the store. And then to actually find it so that you can purchase it, you have to hunt down somebody and then ask them where it is, and then majority of the time they didn't know where it was, and they had to go looking for it, and then something that I could have just reached out and picked up if it had been close to the display took me 15 minutes to stand around waiting. So those are some instances that I find, just shopping in general or shopping locally kind of frustrating. So it's looking to always have a customer service representative somewhat close by to help you find things, and then an educated response.
And then Jenny, do you think, or have you experienced any people in Fairbanks expect too much?
Well, I'm a Fairbankson. I don't think I expect too much. I'm the consumer. As from a consumer point of view, I'm the consumer. You should help me or help me find the answer. I just think that's true of customer service in general. And we've had tons of compliments of our customer service, of people who walked in the store, just looked around. Somebody came out, greeted them, gave them lots of information. They left without buying anything. And they said, I will be back. And they found me in different places and said, I just want to let you know I had this wonderful experience. But if you're the customer, you're the customer, bottom line. So I don't think you expect too much. I mean, I guess it really depends what you're expecting. That could be too much. If you want something that's for sale, then there it is. But if you're a local business and somebody comes into your store and you don't have that item for sale and you just don't sell that item for sale, don't say you're going to sell that item. Just say you don't have it and refer them to somewhere else. So, I mean, if that could be something that might be unrealistic as a person who's wanting a certain something right then and there, which you don't have, never have had, and you're not the right store for them. Other than, I would think that'd be kind of unrealistic, but other than that.
And then, have you had, or Cassie, what's your experience of being like completely satisfied?
Oh, well, usually I'm a girl, so I get that like ultimate satisfaction when I purchase something anyway. But I was thinking about that question, and I think a lot of my instances is when I feel like, well, number one, if I really like the item. So I've either bought something that I didn't need just because I really liked it so much that I wanted it, and I just couldn't live without it or didn't think I could. But the other chance is I'm buying something, and when I'm done purchasing it, besides a necessity like a grocery, I want to feel like I got some kind of deal, or that I'm going to be satisfied, or I know somebody else is going to be satisfied. So I really like a lot of local Fairbanks stores that offer, I like to buy things on sale, or I like to get some kind of incentive. I like it if they have like member programs. I can think of a few local stores that if you purchase things, like it builds up over time and you get benefits back, or they do special things for you. And that's not the only reason I buy things, but I'm going to tend to buy there more instead of somewhere else if I know I can get the same item.
And I'm curious to ask both of you on the panel, actually, and then people in the audience too. Like being involved in the buy local program, like being involved in Fairbanks first. Have you found in like one instance or two of your buying habits actually changing? Like you like being online, looking up something, and thinking, oh, I could buy this now instead.
Yeah, definitely. I actually intentionally, and maybe it's because it's in my office all the time, so I think about it, but I intentionally kind of think before I buy now. And I know when I'm looking for something, I kind of think about the businesses that are part of Fairbanks first already. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I should see if so-and-so has it. Or I also stop and go, there's a satisfaction, I think, that comes from purchasing and being able to walk in a store and tangibly hold something or look at something or try something on that I get and that I want. That's my experience of shopping than like buying something off of line. So I make more of a conscious decision to be like, oh, can I get this locally and where? And then I start researching it. And what I really actually found out is I've started to realize how many businesses Fairbanks have that even after living here 11 years, I didn't realize. Maybe not that they existed, I might have known them there, but the extent to what they actually offer, like the different types of services or products that I wouldn't really think, like Alaska Feed perfectly comes to mind. Like it's like an animal store, but when you walk into it, they have like a whole people section, so you can buy people food and animal food into it. And if I hadn't been like, oh, I better, start thinking more locally, I would probably have never even gone in there. And in turn, going in there, it's like a whole new world. And then I start telling other people about it and things that they have.
Do you see from a business point that people care about that more, care about buying locally more?
Well, I feel like I said, I was raised in Fairbanks. I've been here since I was a month and a half. I went to school out of state and I came back. So I feel like growing up here during the pipeline days was very much like buy everything locally as much as you can. We're a tiny town. Like it isn't like what it is now, where we have these giant box stores and stuff, and so we've lost a lot of local business. But I think there's a shift for buying locally, and with the buy local program, I think there'll be more people who are thinking about it, who haven't already thought about it. Because I grew up selling at the farmer's market. My mom has been at the farmer's market for over 25 years. We always have, and my parents were managers at a Chinese section of the Old Cars Foodland, which sold local produce. And so we're always buying locally and like natural food stuff, things like that, as much as we could. Otherwise, if we couldn't get it, the internet wasn't big then, so we'd fly somewhere and like get everything that we needed. But I think it's good to have the awareness of the Buy Local program. And I think a lot of people don't really know what that is exactly. But I've had several shoppers, even today, who've come in saying,